need to debate with Erudite about her whole philosophy. I sought war with her. I don't even know where that went.
You saw what with her?
War. I'm being
Started a
dramatic.
Oh,
over what?
with her?
When you say her whole philosophy, what do you mean?
There's a lot of things that she says that that sound good at first, and then they just veer off the beaten path. And I'm just like, how did you come to this conclusion, my friend? How do you believe what you even believe? There's one thing she said that lives rent free in my head. I just and that is she said we need to find our male friends who beg women to have sex with them. We need to find them out, and shame them. Something of that regard. And I just sat there like, how are we gonna have that witch hunt in the first place to figure out who those guys are? Those people don't proudly proclaim. So when I hooked up with this one girl,
girls
bruh,
call them out.
I
That's the
begged.
point.
I begged, man. I
Well,
begged
no. Hold on.
dudes don't do that.
No, hold on. Wait. It's not a common thing, but there's literally a label for people. We call it sex pesting, right? Where they're like over and over trying to get into girls' pants, and they're being overly aggressive, and they're trying way too hard. And so girls call them out, right? And they call them out for being overly aggressive in the ways that they're doing it, and then everybody else shames them for it.
That's 100% true, but that's the thing. The girls have to call them out because they're the ones getting the pests.
Correct.
Between male friends, we're not telling sex stories like that, bruh.
Wait. You said that she said we need to do this. Wait, hold on. You said that she said we need to do this. Do you mean that she said like everybody needs to do this, or that men need to do this?
That men need to suss out their friends who behave like that.
Okay. Yeah. We're not normally around each other when we're doing shit like that, so.
Yeah, I got it.
Yo, bro, let me tell you. So last night it was fucking epic. This girl, I texted her like 20 times. I was like, hey, what's up? Hey, I got a boner. Dude, it was so crazy, man. Like on the 5th text, her response said, please block my number. And I was like, no, bitch. Here's another dick pic. It was fucking crazy, right, bro?
Yeah, we don't do that.
Maybe that's more of a goofy thing she said. One thing, I don't know, I love Kyla, she's a buddy of mine. But one thing her and I, probably the most egregious thing, in my opinion, that I've heard her say, at least on my channel, was we're talking about like male loneliness, whole epidemic, and she was saying that like, yeah, a big solution to that could be men being more comfortable being physical with each other. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like guys like wrestling and fucking around.
I do remember that. That was a little.
I'm like, yeah, but most guys don't want to do that because that's like kind of gay. And
No, that's not true. That's not true. You and I have had this conversation before, where I was talking about like when I was on football teams, when I was on basketball teams, when we were in locker rooms, like guys were always fucking with each other, like pretending to be gay, grabbing each other's dicks, slapping each other on the butt. We would wrestle, we would fight, like we would do all this shit.
I don't know about the dick part, bro. Yeah.
It's like a chicken thing where you're like, that they're not actually going to let you grab their dick, right? That they're gonna freak out and try to run away, and so you just chase them like, I'm gonna get that dick, like, and it's just like a funny thing that guys did with each other, where they know the guy is just gonna freak out and take off, and so you can just chase after them because they're never gonna let you grab their dick.
I see what you're getting at, but it was never even close to that extreme at any of the sport teams I was on. There was maybe the occasional like fucking towel like slap or whatever, but there was no dudes trying to grab each other's dicks. I think they would probably get universally ostracized on
when I was young.
I was on.
Yeah. I remember that, Alex.
Yeah.
But that aside, okay, it's one thing when you're like a teenager in high school or middle school, even college, but it's another thing when you're an adult, okay? Like fucking Vikram, Sergio, Tom, you're my friend, but if you guys try to grab my dick, I'm never fucking talking to you again, okay? I don't care if it's a joking way.
It depends on how I do it. Well, I can do it in a way. No, it's okay. I'll do it in a way that you'll be happy with it, okay? I promise.
There's no way you could try to grab my dick in which way I'll be happy.
And like, there's a difference between like, if somebody got close to our dick, it was probably because they were about to literally hit your dick. Like, it was very violent. Like, it wasn't ever like a nice soft thing. It was like, oh, if you're getting close, you're about to like nut check me. Like, it was a constant nut check all the time. Like everybody had to be watching their back constantly. I remember because you even they would even do like the backpack thing where they come behind you and pull your backpack down and nut check you. Oh, it was the worst, man. Like yeah, I'm not
My
about
school
that.
was more like pantsing, but yeah, but there's a big difference between like teenagers and adults. Okay, like no one's tried to slap my dick besides a girl in like decades and decades. Like that's something that happens in high
that's
school.
toxic masculinity, bro. That's what that
Yeah,
is.
sounds
That's
like it. I
toxic
don't know, it's called me
masculinity.
crazy. So me and Kyle were going back to back. She was like, "Yeah, like like why don't you just wrestle with your friends? Is it because you're homophobic?" I'm like, "No, it's just because I don't want to fucking wrestle
yeah,
with my friends."
but that's why I seek war with her, bro. That's why I need to debate her because to be that to not grasp what man's desire for woman is and to miss it to that extent shows a huge oversight. There's something going on that's not connecting.
Well, okay, but think about it though.
Why in
like
God's name would you conclude that man
of,
who wants woman should hug other men?
Okay, but listen. Most of the girls that I went to like high school with and like girls that I was hanging around and like when I was in college age, most of those girls had slept with each other. Like they were best friends and they had all like experimented with it. But I think that's their point, is that like guys have this like hardcore like fear of gayness and looking gay or acting gay or any of this shit, and women don't. And well, because women are just a lot more attractive than we are. So I think
it's because if a woman thinks we're gay, we're not touching them. That's where the great fear of being thought of as gay comes from. We know that it affects our bottom line.
That's part of what she's talking about. That's part of what she's talking about, is that like it has to be more acceptable in culture as well. It's like the ways that men and women interact with each other is just massively different.
The biggest part of it is whenever they do these studies and look at sexuality scales, much more women are significantly more likely to be like somewhere in the middle, to be bisexual. Men are way more likely to be they're either gay or they're straight. There's some bi guys out there, obviously, but it's significantly less. So that's why it's a lot more common for women to sleep together. It's just because that's much more aligned with what they actually want. Versus for men, that's just not.
But it's also socially acceptable as well. Like these are different.
Exactly.
Like, it's like men are attracted to lesbians. Women are not attracted. Excuse me, women are not attracted to gay guys. And so she's saying, hey, like these things have to be more culturally acceptable, and they have to give men the ability to be more like intimate with one another.
Culturally, socially acceptable at all. Like, look, if you want to do gay shit, do gay shit. But like, I don't know, we need to like convince people to like fucking grab each other's dicks as adults as a way of like hoping for the male loneliness.
Yeah, why don't we convince women to grab their dicks? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No, but we're convincing women are capable of grabbing each other's pussies. Like, and it's not like it doesn't make them lesbians, right? It doesn't mean that they like that guys won't date them, that they won't talk to them anymore. Either.
Yeah, I don't think adult women do that.
When you say adult women, we're talking about women who are like in their low 20s in college. Yes, these are adult women. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I do know what Tom is saying, though. I get what Tom is saying.
Like, women aren't fingering each other just for fun, right? Like, it's not happening.
I listen.
I mean, like,
met a woman
like
who's
straight women. I mean, like, you know.
If I met a woman, I'll be like, hey, what's the last time you grabbed your best friend by the pussy?
Yeah, that's probably not that's probably not. But like the experimentation, I believe it. If I encountered a woman and she said I experimented, I'm not gonna be like, what? No, you know, I can expect that. If not expected, you know, it wouldn't surprise me too much. But if a dude said
I think that's part of her point, is that these things are like not socially acceptable for men to do, but they are socially acceptable for women to do, and it gives women a lot more freedom. It like all of us, obviously, we're kind of like disgusted. We have this disgust factor to the idea of doing this shit. I do as well, but I also can understand that this is like the way that I was raised, and that this is just culturally ingrained in me, to where this will never be a thing that I do. But it doesn't mean that future generations that there aren't more possibilities for them.
I don't think it's something that's culturally ingrained. I think that you're either born straight or gay, or you can be born bi, and maybe culture can kind of like push you.
You understand the women that we're talking about are all straight. They're all completely straight. They're not bi. They're just experimenting with each other.
But with women, there's very few purely straight women. Women tend to be like either mostly straight, even like
Mm,
okay, I won't talk about my current girlfriend, but I'll talk about past girlfriends. They're all straight girls, but there was a few times where they were like, yo, that girl's really hot. They would have a threesome or whatever. So yeah, like it's just like there's no such, or there's very few like 100% straight women. Women are typically like
I don't
95%
think I can
straight.
co-sign on that one. I don't think that one gets the walk. I've met some pretty straight women before.
Yeah.
Literally just disgusted by the idea of touching another woman sexually.
Yeah.
That being said, have I also met women who experimented? Sure, but I wouldn't even call that 50-50. I call it more like 70-30 straight, 70% straight, 30% they've experimented. I don't think I
I've met
would.
very, very few women who wouldn't have a threesome with the right girl under the right
Mm-mm.
circumstance.
That's the thing. I haven't met those women. I've met very many women who are like, I'm not touching another girl.
I've had numerous girlfriends who were completely straight and completely heterosexual, but they were also willing to like kiss their girlfriends. They were willing to like experiment with them. They weren't sexually like attracted to them in a way to where they would ever have like a relationship with them or date them or want to marry them, but they were willing to like experiment in sexual ways with them. And even lots of them probably only did it because they knew it was attractive to guys and that they weren't actually interested themselves whatsoever. They just knew that it was going to turn guys on. And so this is like, again, just like there are more possibilities for them. They're capable of being more open with sexuality in ways that guys aren't because of cultural stigma. And I think, again, like that is, I think that that's a lot, that is a lot of what NotSoErudite's talking about.
Epidemic is going to be solved or even significantly helped by guys like fucking doing more bi shit with each other. Like I think really like
I'm still waiting on why we don't convince women to do that.
You don't think that men would feel more comfortable being intimate with one another if they were able to do sexual things like that? We're talking about like there's a spectrum of intimacy that people expect guys to have with one another, with their friends, right? There's a whole spectrum here. And really, we're all the way over here. All the way down here is like being able to do like sexual shit with your bros, right? That if you're able to do this, like you're doing all of the other things in between as well. Like I would think that, yes, at that point, it's already fixed. Like it's been fixed for a while once you get to that point.
But why should we encourage straight guys to like do more bi shit? Like I don't understand.
Instead of straight women, just being straight.
I literally just explained. Like I've explained it numerous times. It's because they have like women are capable of doing these things. They have more possibilities. They have the ability to be more intimate with each other. They're able to experiment in a lot of different ways. I'm not interested in this shit, but that doesn't mean that I don't see the benefits of it. Like, I feel like your disgust factor is all you're going off of instead of actually engaging with the idea.
To me, it's not about being disgusted. Here's where
I have I have nothing against gay people. Like
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I've given an answer for why it's beneficial, and you don't actually
factor when it comes to doing something gay. But like I don't have any disgust factor. Like I would have a disgust factor, for example, when I look at like I don't know someone who's like really dirty. I don't get that when I look at like gay people or whatever. But the point I'm making is that I just think for like straight guys, okay, yeah, sure. If you're a guy who's bi,
it's a disgust factor for yourself. Not for other guys, for yourself. You feel a disgust factor for thinking of like doing something sexual with your homies.
For straight guys who are lonely, maybe for bi guys who are lonely, but not for straight guys.
Yeah, again, I don't see why in heaven's name you'd ever encourage that when man wants woman. If the dude is complaining about how he can't get to a woman, why would you say, well, hug your male friend, go wrestle with him? But what even is the logic to conclude that? I don't even understand.
Okay, how about this? There's tons of studies that show that men are more likely to get into physical fistfights with their best friends, right? That like if it's their best friend, they are actually very likely to have had a physical fistfight with this guy, right? This is like a dynamic with your friend where you get in a fistfight, you beat each other up, and you still know that you're friends afterwards, right? You still know that you're cool afterwards. This is a type of intimacy that we have with one another that women don't. They get in small, verbal. Yes,
there's nothing intimate about
it.
No, it's like Naruto and Sasuke. I see what Tom is saying. I think Tom's making a great point. A lot of young men are indeed able. I saw this in college once. It was hilarious. My friend and his roommate, they literally got into a fight. It was like towards the end of the year, we're moving out. They got into a fight. They calmed down, took a breath, and they just started talking like it was normal again, right? They got the bad juju out, so to speak, right? I've seen dudes fight and then become friends like a week later. It's a thing we can do as men, right?
Women, if they get into small verbal fights, they assume that they don't like each other anymore. They can get into small little arguments and they assume they don't like each other anymore. They can just go like a couple weeks without talking to each other and they'll start to think, oh, well, she doesn't like me anymore. She's a fucking bitch. Whereas guys can go like 5-6 years without talking to each other. They still call each other their best friends and they can hit each other up out of nowhere and be like, hey, let's go get a beer. This is an insecurity that women have that men do not. This is a problem with female relationships that is not a problem with male relationships. And so this is a type of intimacy that men have that women don't have.
Okay, we're using the word intimacy then very loosely because I never saw fighting as like intimacy. Like, there's a big difference. I should try this though. Like, next time I see him DNP, I just sock him in the face. Dude, what the fuck? I was just trying to be intimate, bro.
Yes.
I was just trying to bond us.
Well, you're the one using the term a bit loosely, Alec. What Tom is saying, there's an intimacy in trusting that you'll still be friends after that fight, even though we physically fought. We're literally in a dangerous situation,
and
right? Like
getting over humps with each other creates more of a bond. Like when you have a girlfriend, the first fight that you get in with one another, once you get over that, there's like a new bond there that feels like you're a little bit stronger because you got through something together. It's the same with guy friends. If you get into a fist fight with one another, but you know you're still friends afterwards, there's like a bond there that's even stronger now.
Yeah, because you know that literally, not even trauma, but it's literally the proof of concept that we can literally fight and still care about each other at the end of the day. That's the proof of concept. That's the trust that gets built there. So yeah, I see what Tom is saying, 100%.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I don't even think I necessarily disagree with you guys. I just think I'm thinking of the word intimacy a bit different than you guys are. I actually just Googled the definition. It seems to be actually closer to what you guys are describing. So I'm just thinking of the word intimacy a bit different, implying something sexual in nature or romantic.
No, I get
the technical definition is let me see. It says a close let me I have to search for it again. Close familiarity or friendship, closeness. Yeah, so it's if that's the definition, then sure, I suppose. Although I guess maybe we just miscommunicated me and Kyle, but what I meant was like loneliness in terms of like being like lonely with women, guys who have friends but they still can't like get laid or get a girl.
Precisely. No, I understand. Yeah, Alex, I remember that. I was so befuddled by that conversation. I was lost, man. I did not believe she was saying what she was saying. That was crazy.
Just to defend Kylai's side, she wasn't saying that every man need to wrestle each other. She used wrestling as an example because her husband is a wrestler. So like him and his friends would wrestle each other because that's their sport. That's the sports they do. But she was saying like you need to find an activity that's like a physical activity, like a sport or something like that bring you all together. That has like that level of like intimacy, like the way Tommy's saying it. I think that's what she was saying. She wasn't saying like you have to actually wrestle each other.
Insecurity that like guys couldn't just wrestle each other because they're afraid of looking gay or they're afraid of seeming gay, and that is like an insecurity issue for men.
I mean, a lot of guys will do jujitsu, and jujitsu is essentially like bordering on wrestling. I don't know, maybe some guys, yeah. Well, I guess what I was referencing in that conversation was like actually guys being like, I think that you can have all the male friends in the world, but if you're a straight guy and you don't have any women in your life, that's going to create a special type of loneliness and special kind of despair. And you can have 20 best friends that you wrestle with and all of that, and it still won't solve that problem.
Yeah, you still don't have a family. Yeah, at the end of the day, you're still not married at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not married and I don't feel like despair, but
that's not my point. It was multiple examples, right? Like if you're not on that path to having that intimate relationship with a woman, you're still gonna feel lonely.
No, but I think this is part of the path, is like having more friends, having more intimacy with the guy friends that you have, having the capability of like being open with people. This is a common thing that women bring up, is that when they start dating a guy out of nowhere, he just kind of unloads like all of this fucking trauma and like all of these problems on her because he doesn't have other people in his life that he can actually share intimate information
with. Women never
do
that. That's women never do that at all. Ever.
Hold on. Them doing it is one thing, but them doing it like normally women have the ability to do this with their other friends, their girlfriends. They're able to share intimate information constantly, whereas guys have less of an ability to do this. And then when they get a girlfriend, this is the one person that they can actually share this with.
I'm going to grant Tom. I'm going to grant you that 100%. The problem that I kind of have with that framing is it pretends that women don't do that with their male suitors as well. I've had very many women call me more or less their therapist, and they've just dumped everything to me. I don't think there's even this is what happens when men get with women because they've never done it before. It's like this is what happens when you meet somebody who's willing to listen and makes you feel comfortable.
It's not about
That's how I've
never
always
doing
seen
it. It's about like the likelihood. We're talking about it being more common or less common with men versus women. And obviously some women do this, but I think it's more common with men. And I hear it a lot more from women saying that their boyfriends do this than I hear from guys saying that their girlfriends do this.
I agree with Tom on this. Yeah, 100%. But doesn't mean there's not some women who don't have that.
Oh,
But
yeah, I'll chalk that
men are
out to
more
a
likely.
difference of
But I would say
experience.
this: it's just kind of like that whole thing. Even though I know it's true, it's been like so hard for me to like relate to because I've never had that issue at all. Like, there's always like I can always I'll talk to my close friends about anything and everything. There's nothing that like or like I don't know, maybe I'm just closer with my parents, but I can't talk to my mom or my dad about, or my cousins or my like close friends. I don't know, but I do know that's a thing amongst guys.
I don't know. I've never unloaded to a woman about my problems like that. Never.
Well, and there's
Even
like
like it'll
studies and
take
statistics
months.
on
It'll
this
take
as well.
months within a relationship with a woman before I'm like, okay, here's a weakness of mine I have.
Yeah, it
I
would take
didn't.
months. Same for me. For me, it would probably take years.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
there's
yeah,
there's
that's a little
studies and
interesting for
like
years,
polling
but
and shit where like guys will say that the one person that they feel like they're capable of sharing intimate information with is their girlfriend. Like there's just a ton of information out there to where it's not just an experience that I hear from women, but there's also just tons of data on this as well.
Let's talk about this though. That's really interesting because I've heard the same thing too, Tom. And my usual thoughts are, again, I don't even think that that's special, but I guess to you guys it is. But to me, women have done that my whole life, so I don't even see the difference. But let's just stop by
My
and say,
experience is
okay,
different as well, but I'm not relying on my experience to make statements like this.
That's what we're gonna grant it fully. A man is opens up to a woman. Why is she upset about that? Did they not ask us as men to do this? I remember very many feminist videos I used to respond to in the past where they asked for men to explain how they feel. They asked for
that's
men
how
to
we
be
got into
open
this
and
conversation.
vulnerable. They
Real
told
quick,
us to.
Hold on. This is how we got into this conversation, is where I was talking about the fact that like it's about how you share the information, right? You want to be closer and intimate with your girlfriends. You want to be able to share this stuff, but you want to share it in a healthy way. And so having friends that you're capable of having these conversations with means that you're more capable of having these conversations in a healthy way and sharing a healthy amount of information.
Yeah, but at some point you'd still have to talk to the said woman, I would imagine, right?
Yes. Yes, you should still share intimate information. It's about how you do it.
Sometimes it is a shit test though. It is a shit test just to see if the guy will be vulnerable, and then she knows if he's like a weak bitch or not. And I think I actually disagree with y'all completely on this one.
Sure.
I totally think that guys can be as vulnerable as they want to be, but you have to earn it. I don't think that you can be like a broke dude crying about the water bill. I think that you need to like,
this is what I mean when I say healthy, right?
Yeah,
but this is
apply some
go ahead.
common sense to this. Okay, first date and you're like being super vulnerable, not a good thing. Second date, probably not a good thing, or especially if you're complaining and whining. But if you're in a relationship with a girl, you've been dating each other for some period of time, maybe a few months, maybe a year or so, and you open up to her about something that's really concerning for you. Typically, it's gonna be a bonding experience. It's not going to be like a girl a year into a relationship is not going to be shit testing you like, hey, babe, you look like you're in a bad mood. Is there something on your mind? Yeah, I had this thing happen. Gotcha, bitch. Like that's unless she's ultra manipulative, in which case she's a piece of shit. But like normal women aren't going to be doing that. But yeah, there's like degrees to it. Like I wouldn't like it if I just like meet some fan on the street and he's like, hey Alex, and he spends half an hour like crying, complaining about his problems. But like if it's a close friend of mine, it's a totally different story.
No, if a fan did that to me, I would take it. I'd help him as best I could.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
That wouldn't bother me at all.
Again, it's about doing it in healthy ways. That's what we're talking about, right? Like, if
But I would
all of a
imagine
sudden
that
I
if
get
a
with a
fan
girl
did
and I'm
that-
talking about
Right.
like things from 5-10 years ago or shit from my childhood or all sorts of crap because I just haven't had somebody that I was able to open up to and be vulnerable with. Now I've got so much piled up that I'm just kind of unloading it onto somebody. Whereas if I have other people commonly that I'm able to talk to, that I'm able to vent to, that I'm able to have intimacy with, now when I get with her, I'm able to slowly let her in on my life and let her in on my feelings, let her in on my thoughts in a healthy way.
So my thing with that, Tom, is I kind of doubt the narrator on this, right? I kind of doubt from the female that and that it really is this gush of all that, and that they're just so not used to men just talking about how they feel. That's how they perceive it, because that is not a normal person to do that. And the fact that this is such a common occurrence, so to speak, they say, makes me doubt that truly it's actually dudes. They use me like I'm their therapist and they don't talk. No, maybe he's just telling you how he's had a bad day, and you're just not used to that actual vulnerability you're seeing with someone maybe so quick.
That is
And
definitely
so
a thing
sure,
as well.
I'll grant that it shouldn't be so quick, but this huge gushing, this I can't take and let us. Come on, that's not what's going on. That can't be what's going on.
It's both. Both of those things are happening.
So
we're just talking about specific times where specific men are just kind of unloading a little bit too much, and that this is a common thing that we hear from women, is that they just have guys where every new boyfriend is just unloading a ton of fucking trauma onto them, and that they don't do this in like a healthy way. It's like the first person that's ever been willing to listen to them to where they do this. And so it sounds like guys don't have a healthy amount of people to go to in the first place. It's not that this is a big problem for women, that they're like too overwhelmed or anything like that, but it is something that indicates that men just don't have enough outlets in their regular life to where they have to have a girlfriend in order to have any intimacy with anybody ever.
But I think also like like there's also a massive devil in the details factor. It also depends on how you do it, right? If you're like whining and complaining, that's totally different than you just communicating about something that's bothering you. And also it's like the scale of the problem. If you're like crying to your girlfriend about like I was like 30 minutes late to this meeting, yeah, she's probably gonna lose respect for you. But if you're crying because your mom passed away or because you have some massive health issue, that's a totally different story. Like I know with like my multiple relationship actually, because I've had a lot of health issues in my life that have kind of gone up and down, is that whenever I have a health issue, or something like that, it kind of bothers me, and I'll explain, why it bothers me. I don't cry or whine or complain. I just kind of lay it out and kind of I'll just be transparent. And every single time, that's typically brought me and every girl I'm dating closer together. It's like kind of that bonding. But yeah, but again, I think I'm not gonna do that on the first or second or even third date like that. That has to be once you already like a solid relationship. Any girl who would use that against you is just a piece of shit who's a manipulator, and you wouldn't want to be with her in the first place.
And those women exist. It's just like I wouldn't say that that's like the majority of women either. Yeah.
But I just like this Red Pill, or more like Myron Pill argument of that, like, oh, you can never be vulnerable with your girlfriend. You should do it with your bros, because if you do it with your girlfriend, she's gonna lose respect for you. It's just absurd. Like, it's only guys who've never actually been in a relationship who think shit like that. Like Myron.
Well, hold on. I can't let that one walk. They have to have been in a relationship and experienced that with the woman to come to this conclusion.
Yeah, they couldn't have trauma with a girl doing nowhere.
Myron has literally said he's never been in any kind of significant relationship.
That might be the case, right? But even if Myron himself hasn't, that doesn't mean he hasn't had hundreds of different emails or multiple different experiences of other men who have done that. I've experienced that, where I've told a woman something that bothered me, and then she'll bring it up later in an argument in order to hurt me. Like they do that sometimes. That's a thing that happens.
You're just dating pieces of shit,
and that's true.
Yes, but that woman was
crap. But that doesn't change the fact that it happens, Alex. Like even if we give that she's crappy,
isn't not to be vulnerable with your girlfriend. The solution is to
find women with virtue. You can say it. Find a woman with virtue. Go on.
It's not about virtue is part of it, but also self-awareness. Like, you could have a virtuous woman who has no self-awareness who might do that. Well, I mean, it's okay, fine, whatever. I'm not gonna scroll about definitions, but yeah, the self-awareness is also a huge part of it. Like, some people do a lot of shit subconsciously that they don't even realize how they're hurting the other person. That used to be me 10 years ago. I used to do a lot of shit subconsciously. Yeah, and I never had any ill intent, but it would hurt my girlfriend or whatever.
And that's the thing, though, Alex. With virtue, wouldn't the moment you say, "Hey, that hurts me," the woman would say, "Oh, you're right, man, my bad," and not do it?
Well, so hold on. There's a couple of aspects here that we're kind of discounting. Is that one, it is kind of stigmatized for men to be a little bit more open and to be more intimate and to talk about their feelings. And so there are some women who are just completely closed off to this and expect some fucking statuesque sort of guy who's just never emotional whatsoever. Those women are fucked, right? Those women are kind of a problem. We want to try to make it to where women are more accepting of men being a little bit more open and having more intimacy.
But Alex,
that's fine. That's fine.
We
It
can't
doesn't
all
matter.
be dating the same woman, Alex.
No. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I agree that it is a small percentage. I would say probably like 5 to 10%, but it is a small percentage of women.
Come on.
And that, but it doesn't matter because it is a common enough experience for guys where they do feel stigmatized for sharing their feelings and sharing their emotions to where they're just less likely to do it going forward. So it doesn't matter how, like the fact that it's small, because it's a common enough experience hearing women say that their boyfriends are unloading trauma and shit onto them in an unhealthy way, that we hear that enough. But that's also probably like 10 to 15% of men, just as like the women who are doing this sort of things, probably like 10 to 15% of women. But it's like, it's still a thing because of the way that we kind of it's kind of like a childish expectation from men and women on both sides where they're overly caricaturizing their gender roles.
Yeah, but in those situations, most of the time, probably not all the time, but most of the time, the guy's probably whining. There's a big difference between being vulnerable and whining.
What
right?
difference does it make?
Dude, no, it does make a fucking difference, bro. A dude cannot be a fucking little bitch, dude. Like, this is the problem. Dude, this whole conversation has been shifting blame, dude. Stop shifting blame. A lot of these dudes act like bitches, dude. Like, for real. And we need to stop doing this, because we need to start framing the argument that it's actually fucking dudes' faults in a lot of things, and we'd actually fix some shit. But if guys keep shifting blame and we keep framing it always as the women's fault, we're not gonna ever get anywhere with society-wise. Like, fuck on a micro level, like on a macro level, we're not gonna do anything. Because we're shifting blame so much.
Thing you've ever said that I've heard.
No, I disagree. I disagree with that. I'll tell you exactly why I disagree with that. The responsibility of the strong is to protect the weak. If you see a man who is being weak right now, you call him a bitch. It's your responsibility as a strong person to help them. If you're a woman in a relationship with that man who's hurting, whose responsibility is it to help that man? Yours. You picked him. He's your boyfriend. He's your husband. Why are we going to sit here and say, oh, you're a bitch? You can't. No. She should care more than me. So why are we sitting here with me giving more of a fuck than that woman? Go ahead.
So